Hey everyone, I'm Agarkar and welcome to AgarkarMedia Academy. This is the second part of converting your high poly meshes to the low poly meshes. In the last video, we saw a very good tool inside of Blender, one modifier which is called as Decimate Modifier. We can use the Decimate Modifier to decrease the number of vertex count or face count to convert a high poly mesh into a low poly mesh. Now there is one more part to it. I mean, there are even various ways of doing it. There are some add-ons, extra add-ons that you can buy or remeshers that you can buy to decrease the number of face counts. But in this video, we are going to focus on one more, manual way of reducing the amount of vertices in the model, and that is retopologizing is one way that we are going to look at it in this video. Okay, let's delete this Suzanne cube where we had this subdivision surface modifier, and then we decimated it to give a very a good better way of than the what it was earlier. So let's delete this out. We don't need this right now. We're just going to focus on this cube that we had earlier. Okay, I'm not sure if this is the best way or this is the best model to showcase the thing that I'm going to showcase, but the only reason that I did not choose the Susan monkey or any face for retopologizing is because retopologizing is very difficult, and I mean more than difficult, it is more time consuming. It requires some kind of tricks to understand what to do and when to do. Maybe there are very good videos for retopologizing. Maybe you can look at them later on once you have understood what retopologizing is in this video. So let's start with that. For retopologizing, basically the way to go for retopologizing is first of all we have the dense mesh right now. Okay, so this is our dense mesh. Let's do one thing. Let's give it some subdivision surface modifiers to increase the amount of vertices that it has right now. It has 4,000 to 42,336 faces. Right now the aim is to reduce the number of faces from here on. Okay, so that is what exactly we are going to do. Now retopologizing involves, one, you have a high dense or high poly mesh, and then you create again one more mesh on top of it, and that is what it is called as retopologizing. Now for that we need a plane. Okay, so I have a plane going on here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it forward and rotate it in the direction. Okay, so x 90, right? I am in this direction right now, and this is all what we have. Okay, so as soon as we have this, the one thing that you need, or there are like a setup, basically 2 or 3 things that you require. First of all, you require a shrink wrap modifier. So this is what a shrink wrap modifier is. Now what shrink wrap modifier is going to do is just select the target to this cube, because this is the cube that we want to retopologize. So shrink wrap modifier, as soon as we go on to this, you can see that the mesh in edit mesh is here, but in object mode it is going there. So that is what shrink wrap modifier does. It shrinks the one mesh to its target. Okay, so that is what shrink wrap modifier is. It shrinks like a shrink wrap, right? Shrink wrap, you have seen that plasticky thing that is usually used to package some materials. That is what shrink wrap is, right? So that shrink wrap modifier. The other one we need is snapping tool, and this one I have already told you in previous lectures that snapping is very great. We just have to go to face or edge or vertex. Anyone you choose is good. I usually like to go with face. Now along with that, I want project project individual elements, because what we want is, we don't want the entire plane to be slapped onto the other mesh, but we want every individual vertex to be going there. So that is what we want. That is why we have this project individual elements. Okay, we want it at move, rotate, scale. So for now, because we are going to move and rotate and scale when we are doing retop, so always have that. Now if I just grab this, right, now as soon as I move it here, you can see that this vertex is snapping onto this face. So if it is here and I go, when I am outside of the cube, right, outside of the projection of the cube, this vertex that I have selected is going to stay away. But as soon as I go on to the object and I just go on to the face of any of this high dense or high poly mesh, it is just going to stick to that. You can look at this. These two faces are here and this vertex has been stick to it. Again, let's do the from here. Okay, now here you can see that we have this in very one side, right, this one side, and we want it here. So I select this vertex again, I snap it to this, and as soon as you do that, you can see that this vertex has been snapped to this. Again, we can do the same thing with this also. Okay, now once you have done that, we can use some offset to, you know, bring out the mesh from this vertex. That is going to help a lot, because, you know, not every time you're going to, you can see that it is going to overlap sometimes, and you don't, if you cannot see the mesh when it is overlapping, the best way to go is to increase the offset. Okay. Just increasing the offset is going to do the job. Right, maybe I had to go in the negative direction. That is, you know, very nominal. You just have to figure it out which one to use. Okay, let's start with this corner. Now retop is difficult because you have to select individual points and then retop accordingly. This is really very difficult. Let's just select these two vertices, extrude it out. Let's get it till here. I want this one to be at this edge. If you can see, I mean, I know that it is very difficult to see, but anyways, now Control R, I want a few loop cuts right down here, and as soon as I do it here, you can see already that it is really showing up. I want these all to be here. Extrude, let's go till here. I think let's scale it down a little bit to, you know, just cover up the base of it. Now you can see that it is going to be very difficult because every time you have to keep on doing, you know, everything manually. So this is difficult to pull off because, you know, you have to look at that also, that each time you select a vertex, it has to be the right vertex. Now there may be times when, you know, something like this will happen, and you just have to take care of it. It is not very difficult. Just because we scaled it up, it just messed up with the entire mesh, but you have to, it is easy. I mean, to be honest, it is not that difficult. You just have to keep on doing it one by one. Just focus on one what do you call it as one edge, and just focus on that and just try to do it the way you can, in the best way possible. Right now I'm just, you know, there is no going in there is no point in going fast forward. I am just going to play with just one face right here, and you can, you know, understand from there on. Okay, now let's do this one. I've got this mesh or the other one retopologized on to another one. Now one good way of, you know, if you are not able to see it properly, then one good way is to go to the materials panels view here, add a new material, and in the display viewport display option, just give it some color. I like blue, going blue or something like that, because it shows up very nicely against white. You can also go and use some different color here so that you can identify it more clearly. Okay, something maybe like this. Now that's really up to you how you want to go ahead with it. I'm just showing you the examples of how retopologizing works. Now if I just hide it out, H for hide, you can see this face has been, you know, very well retopologized onto it. There are various ways. This is, I mean, not the best example of retopologizing, and also not the best retop that I've done in, you know, years, but this is what it is. Right, look at this. It has just 70 faces, 88 vertices, and it is still looking very great. If we just Alt H to unhide it, you can see that this face is very well visible. Right, if I just hide this now, you can see, if just focus on the first face, right, don't go for the other faces that are there, just focus on the first face, then you will be able to see that it is really looking very nice. Right, so this is the way to decrease the number of vertices or faces of your model or high poly model. So I hope that you learned a few things from these two videos. I know that, I mean, these two videos have could have been much shorter in length, but yeah, I just wanted to explain you all the details of what retopologizing is, what decimation is, what subdivision surface does to your modify or object or mesh. That is what I want you to learn or understand in detail, so that you can go ahead with whatever way is suitable for you. So now let's just talk about for 1 minute the difference, or which way to prefer, whether to go for decimate modifier or to go for retopologizing by hand. Now both are good, both have their advantages and disadvantages. Now in one side, decimate modifier is a great and the fastest way to get the low poly meshes from your high poly mesh. Right, just apply the modifier and just decrease the ratio, where you find a good balance between the details as well as the number of faces that you are having on your mesh. That is one way to go. The other that is very fast, but the problem with decimate modifier is that the mesh itself will be very dirty. I mean, I cannot show you right now because we have already, I think, deleted that one. But if you just had a look at the previous video where I showed you the decimate modifier, you could see that the cube, or now here also you can see that if I just convert it to flat shading, here are very definite squares which are there. I mean, of course the squares are transformed to get to this shape, but there are squares. These squares are definite in form and some kind of definite in size. Decimate modifier is not going to do that. It is going to be stretchy at some positions and very crowded at the locations where there are definite curves. So that is a disadvantage of decimate modifier. But if you just want something to get done at a very quick pace, then that is the best way to go. Where is retop used? Retop is used for human characters or animal characters or something which is high poly, but you also want to have the polyflow or the face flow, which is something that is required. So maybe you want to animate the characters, then at that point of time you don't want some part of your body parts to be very stretchy and some parts to be very crowdly dense. So that is where you have to do, and you have to go for retopology, usually for human figures, animals, and where you are going to animate. So if you want to animate, and if it is really very simple that just one cube can get it done, then at that point of time, retop is the best way to go. If you want animations, retop is the only way to go, because decimate modifier is going to mess up around with the animations and the keyframes and stuff like that. So don't even think of using decimate modifiers for animations. Maybe at higher ratios you can get it done, but it is still not preferable to go for decimate modifiers for animations of characters. If you are doing the animations, then go for retop. I know the retop is very time consuming to do. There are good what we can call it as add-ons. I think there is one called as Retopo Flow 3 or something like that. It is a paid add-on. You can find it on Blender Market and Gumroad, I think. You can go for that, and you can just use that to speed up your retopologizing process. There are other add-ons as well, but the inbuilt add-on, inbuilt retopologizing by your hand manual work is also very good way to go. So that is it. I think that is what we have summarized the entire thing in Blender. And I hope you learned a few things from this video. If you haven't yet subscribed this YouTube channel, please do subscribe. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Comment down if you have some queries or any other suggestions that you want me to cover in this YouTube channel series. Blender series for beginners basically. And share with your friends who can learn from these videos and upgrade their skills for Blender and 3D animations and stuff like that. So I will want to see you in the next videos. Let's see you in the next videos. Till then, keep smiling and keep learning.